and your strength. Tonight we ask for your special blessings on Commissioner Harris's family. As his son Mason injured himself today, and we pray that you be with the family, with Mason, and that you be with the surgeon that does the work. All these things we know that we can count on you, and we love you, and we appreciate your love for us. Amen.
Yes.
May we honor the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, if you'll switch us to the roll call screen, please.
Jerry.
Yes. I hope I'm not suffering from a dead battery. No, I think it's, Blake, I may need a battery.
Is that true? That's great. Thanks, sir.
All right. All right, we do have 13 present, 2 absent. We do have a quorum. Our next item is approval of the agenda. There's one thing on our agenda that I would like to bring to your attention. Under the county mayor's report, I would like to place item number 2 as a report of the trustee. He had handed out a report to you. If we could amend it to a motion. Do I have a second? Second to add under the county mayor's report of the trustee as item 2. Any further corrections or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion of approving the agenda as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the agenda is approved and amended. We'll go ahead and stand in recess for public comment. Each individual shall be given 3 minutes to address the board under public comment regarding agenda items. Comments shall be limited to items on the agenda. Our first speaker this evening for items on the agenda is the Captain Carrigner. I'm so sorry. If you'll come forward to the podium and give your address to the clerk, please.
Hello, I'm Captain Crystal Carringer. I am the Corps Administrator for the Salvation Army in Johnson City. I want to address the commission first and foremost to say thank you to the Health and Education and Wellness Committee for your transparency and your stewardship with the Baby Doe funding. I've worked with many local governments, and this one has been the most transparent that I've been a part of. So thank you so much for your due diligence in that funding. And it will definitely greatly impact our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Chad Fleener. Chad, if you'll come forward to the podium, please. Chad, if you'll give your address to the clerk,
Yes. Hey, I'm Chad Fleener with 1240 Old Gray Station Road in Gray, Tennessee. Appreciate the opportunity to get to speak with you all tonight, and I'd like a little leniency because I'm not got something on the board agenda tonight that I want to speak to you for, but just wanted to say thank you. There's 4 of you here tonight that this is your last meeting. Probably thankful in some way, but I also just want to thank you for your service. Serving's hard, no firsthand. But I know you all got a hard job, and sometimes it's a very thankless job. But I just want to thank you all so much for supporting education and working with me. Y'all been a heck of a team to work with, and I look forward to serving with other people that are still on the board. But I just wanted to tell you 4, thank you, and 2 that's not here tonight. But also just to thank you all for your service. Just appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you so much for your service as well, Chad. We do have 4 individuals that signed up to speak on the Bitcoin subject. That item does not appear on this agenda. What is the pleasure of the body? Commissioner Jones?
I'd like to hear the 4.
Okay. Commissioner Wheeler?
We don't yet have any kind of resolution in front of us to talk about or consider. There's been a lot of information out that is incorrect in the public, that has never been in consideration or is just flat out incorrect. I think we would be better off to listen to the public once there is something for them to look at. We indicated this is gonna go to committee, there'll be committee meeting, we'll have an opportunity to have a commission meeting. Until that time, there's really nothing for us, there's nothing in front of us. We don't have an opportunity to speak to anything that's said that's incorrect, and I think it's a mistake to get into something that's not on the agenda before, there's something to even talk about.
Commissioner Evans?
Mr. Chairman, I too agree with Commissioner Jones. I'd like to hear from the 4, if nothing else, just to keep an open dialogue with them.
Commissioner Tester?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Commissioner Evans and Commissioner Jones, and just to point out, our rule on public comments does not require that an item is on the agenda. It leaves it up to your discretion, Mr. Chairman, so I'll ask that you allow.
Commissioner Carrier?
I would support Commissioner Wheeler. That's, I don't know what you're gonna talk about because there's really nothing on the table. And there's nothing concrete between us and the operator of the Bitcoin mine or power. So I don't know what we're gonna discuss.
Okay. Commissioner Huffine?
I gotta agree with Commissioner Wheeler as well, and I think it's probably advantageous to the individuals to speak at the commission that will be considering and taking action on that. We do have 2 missing members tonight that last time, we've got 4 additional members at the last time. Again, I just think it's to their advantage to speak in front of the full commission that will be addressing their concerns. That would be just, hopefully it's next month.
Huh? Anyone else? All right. Ms. Wilkinson, have we reached any point of agreement that we could discuss with anyone tonight, do you feel?
Mr. Chairman, the microphone picking up, or can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. At this time, the negotiations for the actual settlement agreement are still underway.
Can hardly hear you.
Please.
It's
At this time, Mr. Chairman,
There's no agreement that it's subject to a resolution to review. There's no significant details that I could report that have been agreed by all of the parties.
You're gonna let these people talk, we will remember you next election.
You're out of order, sir. I think this commission has made a well-versed effort in the last couple of meetings to let a representative speak. I think the county commission has heard from the community there. I know I've received many emails from you, and I appreciate that communication. When you come up and speak, we can't respond. We don't even know what the agreement is because that agreement has not been reached. So we kind of fall into the situation where we can't respond to what you're saying because under negotiations, that's something that we can't really address. So I guess this hasn't even been to a committee that's been approved to come to the county commission yet. This item has not. And those are the real facts. If we ever do have an attempt to reach an agreement, it will have to go to a committee. And then when it leaves that committee, it'll come to this commission floor. So I think this commission is willing to hear any citizen that wants to speak. A lot of times citizens come here for answers, not to leave with more questions. So I surely don't want to be received as not letting anyone speak. Or I don't want to be threatened by any comments. I want to treat people fairly. So, knowing that this commission treated people fairly, I'm going to allow you to speak because I'm the chairman of the commission. I get to make that decision. However, you'll have 3 minutes, each one of you. We can, Commissioner Kate?
Why don't you let the commission vote to see if we want to listen to them again?
Commissioner Malone?
Whereas a potential compromise, because it seems like perhaps you're looking for one, if there's a compromise, I'm concerned because I have certainly seen a lot of media and even in individual meetings that there is some confusion or misunderstanding. But as a compromise, could the group choose a single speaker and we hear from one? I have a feeling that all four are going to say much the same thing. I might just propose that they choose a single designated speaker and hear from that one.
All right.
Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Davenport.
All I would say is that you are the chairman. If that's your ruling, I support that.
If you're asking for the chairman's ruling, we have 4 individuals that would like to speak. Commissioner Wheeler?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's fine. I think what we should do though is open it up, our rule and the way we've done our rule in the past. And what was stated on the agenda sheet is that it had to be something on the agenda.
Yes.
I think it's fine to open it up, but I think we should also open up an opportunity for anybody else that wants to sign up. So we're going to open this up.
It has to be. Ms. Wilkinson, would you review the rule, please?
I'm happy to. It's Rule 4 of the Washington County Board of County Commissioners Rules of Procedure. So citizens of Washington County, Tennessee may be allowed to address the board. A public sign-in sheet for requesting an opportunity to address the board shall be made available 30 minutes prior to each meeting. The sign-in sheet shall be organized by committee and shall require the individual's name, address, and brief description of the subject of their comments. At the chair's discretion, comments may be limited to items on that meeting's agenda. Then it goes on to talk about the public sign-in sheet being given to the chair, who will review the public signing sheet and open the floor for public comment at the time designated on the agenda. Then it goes on to describe the 3 minutes that are allowed to address the board. And it carries on from there with respect to, at any time, a member of the board may object to a non-member's comments continuing. If there's an objection by any member, the chair shall immediately take a vote to approve or disapprove the objection. More procedure about a majority of members present to vote or approve the objection. I think you've got the bulk of the meeting right there of the rule, which is that it sits with the discretion of the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners.
If a member of the Board of the County Commissioners objects, isn't that correct? Is that not what it said? That we would immediately take a vote?
Yes, sir. At any time, a member of the board may object to a non-member's comments continuing. That is after the limit of 3 minutes. So that really seems to address the allowance of additional time.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Wheeler, you bring up a very valid point. This is kind of setting a new precedence really here for us by opening up the agenda to speak on non-agenda items. Commissioner Kate?
We should vote to see if we want to hear tonight based on, just don't make your decision.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the rule is written that the chairman may limit the speaking. So just at the chair's discretion, comments may be limited to items on that meeting's agenda. So the procedure under the rules are that the chairman may limit the topics. There's no process here for calling a question to vote of the full Board of County Commissioners. Although the chairman could do that if you'd like to have the favor, which he asked at the beginning, what the comments were from the commission.
The chairman would like to go ahead and let him speak. There's 4 of them. We'll sit here and discuss this a lot longer than that. Okay. Our first speaker this evening, and this will be limited to the Bitcoin topic, is Kevin Hendricks. Kevin, if you'll come to the podium, please, and give your address to the clerk.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Hendricks. I live at 200 Roy Phillips Road in Jonesboro. Appreciate the opportunity to address the crowd. Sorry it had to be such a debate. I have to ask, what's changed? I think that's an important characteristic here. The board, when you approved allowing the rezoning of the property for Bright Ridge, it was done under false pretenses by Bright Ridge, data center, solar farm, whatever. So property, and then the commission did exactly what was right. You told them they needed to cease and desist. You took them to court. You got a court order saying, yes, indeed, they're in violation of zoning ordinance. Unfortunately, they didn't give a cease and desist to shut the operation down. It continues to operate in defiance of a court order. Yes, you're getting $500 a day fine. That's really peanuts for what they make. So now the commission has momentum. I mean, you've got a court order showing, yes, indeed, they are indeed in a zoning violation. So why would the county even consider a modified settlement or a mediated settlement to move on and expand the operation into a questionable neighborhood, which would actually affect more people? You've got a subdivision with more people than you do out in the country. You've got a school nearby. We've all heard those things. You know, the economic industrial park is there to create favorable economy and to improve the area's economy, create jobs. You know, we've got another German company that's come there creating a couple hundred jobs. Wonderful. So that's what we need here. Do not need a Bitcoin operation there. It's going to employ no one. It's going to contribute a very small amount of tax dollars. It's going to create some temporary jobs to construct a new facility. That's not what that park is for. A mediated settlement would be if you were going to give them 6 months, 9 months to actually close the operation down. Let us continue to earn some money so we can afford to tear this thing down and get out of your county. That's a mediated settlement. Not what you folks are considering to double down on and expand it. So I don't even know why it's even being considered. It was wrong to allow them here in the first place. I feel bad that the people in this board were misled under pretenses. Now it's all out in the open. Everybody knows what's going on. You know, it's been taken away. So I think really, and I know some of you won't be here to actually vote on it, but I think each of you needs to really look in the mirror and be honest with yourself, you know, and do what's right for the citizens of this county. Not for yourselves, not for Bright Ridge, not for Red Dog. And I think if that happens, the right decision will be made. Nobody should worry about Bright Ridge. They're going to sell plenty of electricity when we're all driving electric cars in a few years. So there's going to be plenty of electricity there. So I also believe a majority of those in the county, if they were polled and the facts were presented, I think the majority of the citizens in this county would vote this down because there's no economic benefit. If that was creating 500 jobs, I think we could all maybe live with it. And you want to trust them, and they said there's going to be nothing over a certain decibel. They've proven to be untrustworthy. So I don't know how any of you can look at that. I mean, what needs to be done is when the vote happens at some point, I hope it's a majority to move on. You folks are doing the right thing. You're going to court. You're trying to get them out of this county. That's what needs to be done. Follow through on what you decide to do. Don't take a mediated settlement. See this thing through. You've got momentum. You already got a court case showing they're in zoning violation. The owner of the Bitcoin at a previous hearing said he didn't want to be where he doesn't want it, where he's not welcome. Clearly, he's not welcome here, and he's probably not going to go out. He just needs a boot out the door. And once they are out of this county, the next thing the next commission needs to do is to vote a ban on large Bitcoin operation in this county.
Kevin, you reached your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to say that I believe Ken Huffine, because he's on the board, has a prejudicial interest, and he should recuse himself from voting.
You're out of order.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Randy Gill. Randy, if you'll come forward and give your address to the clerk, please. Randy Gill. Randy, if you'll give your address to the clerk, please.
I'm Randy Gillum. I live at 83 Carters View Way in Telford. Thank you, Mr. Mavely and ladies and gentlemen. I just want y'all to know that we're not trying to be your enemies because we are all together in this community, and we are to love one another and look out for one another. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be a stumbling block in any way, shape, or form. I want to be what is best for all of us, and especially the communities that are having to deal with this. Believe me, if it's getting ready to go over in Sulphur Springs, you'd have all the Sulphur Springs folks out tonight. If you had the Lamar area, that's where, I mean, that's because it extends into them personally, as it did in Limestone. And that's why we've got so many Telford folks here tonight, because we've got a school there. Please take that in consideration. The distance to the school is going to be anywhere from 900 to 2,700 feet. In the middle is right about 1,700 feet. They put it there. That's sound travels. I've been studying this out, and ladies and gentlemen, you all will be getting from us for the next few weeks information concerning Bitcoin, how it works, sound things, and etc. Scientific data. We're not going to send you opinion things. We're going to give you some things for you to really look at and consider between now and when the vote comes up. I've really been studying it out, folks, and there's no way you can totally stop sound when you've got fans. It's impossible. The main reason is not just the amount of decibels, because if you'll study that out scientifically, you can be right there at one of them and you'll come to 60 decibels, which you're going to try to put in your settlement. But if you get away from that to a certain point, every one of those put out 60 decibels. It changes. They say each one will put out an extra 3 decibels. It depends on where they're standing when they check it and so on. But it's not just decibels, but it's also frequency. And you've got to note that too. And all of you have been in line in a car sometime, and all of a sudden you're boom, 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 coming up from behind you. And it might be 4 or 5 cars way back. But what it is, it's that frequency that you're hearing. Now, inside that car, they're hearing all the trebles and everything else. You can block that, but you cannot block a low frequency. And those fans run on a low frequency. And I'll be bringing this out to you. There's no way, because it spreads out. Those frequencies spread out and they will go everywhere. And there's no way to rightly stop the sound doing it the way they're going to do it, folks. Now, that's the facts. And plus, they will, and this is in the Bitcoin magazines and so on, because they're under such pressure now, losing some money and so on. I'm talking about Bitcoin in general, that they're having to build them more aggressively, more powerful, and more of them in order to compete in the Bitcoin market. Again, check these things out. We'll be sending you information on that. And if they're given that land over there in the industrial park, they're wanting more than what they've got out here. And we already know that. They're requesting it. They've been pushing that.
Mr. Gillum, you've reached your time.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Matherin.
Appreciate
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Joey Ayers. Joey, if you'll come forward to the podium, please, and give your address to the clerk.
111 Short Lane, Jonesboro, Tennessee. Thank you for listening to the residents. I am here to represent the residents of the area, Jonesboro, Telford, and I hope I do it justice. I'm appealing to decency more than anything. I have some facts here, but all the people I've talked to, they do not want a Bitcoin mining industry in the Washington Industrial Park. And I even attended the Industrial Development Board meeting last Wednesday, and one of your own members there in the Industrial Development Board, he came to me personally and said, I do not want this Bitcoin thing. And he said, I have a farm down the road from it. He asked me to call him today to remind him to come here. I don't know if he is here, and I'm not going to mention who he is, but he doesn't want it. And as they mentioned to you about the school, it's just not just a school, but you've got autistic children in there. You've got the zoo. They do not want to stay around if you vote this in. They're not going to stay around with the animals. I look at the zoning of it. It's M2 zoning. I looked that up. It's high impact. How was that zoned ever a high impact area when you've got residents all around there and you can see the place from homes? Maybe it needs to be rezoned. Maybe it was zoned before the school came. I don't know, but it's erroneously zoned and it needs to be rezoned because it should not be high impact. Only if it was water cooled should you ever have considered having a Bitcoin mining around the area, because you've got too many people. You've got residents right on top of that Washington Industrial Park. And in my opinion, you should have never considered it in the first place. I can't even believe you did. This place is a very wholesome place to live. We love it. It's beautiful. It's quiet. We appreciate it. We take care of it. We're responsible. And I'm like really shocked, that this is happening. And I'm saddened. I've cried tears. You can ask the attorney a little bit because she saw me break up at the industrial board meeting last week. What revenue is going to give you? 2 or 3 people working in the limestone one? How many people are going to be working in this Bitcoin? Not many. That's not going to give you much revenue. How about carbon emissions? Have you checked into that? It's high. Look into it. It's not good for our area. The noise. Would you want to live near it? If you could honestly vote yes, could you move and live 1 mile to 2 miles from that Bitcoin mining? Really, honestly. Where I'm appealing to your decency, I'm appealing to common sense, some facts. I've
been doing a lot of calling. I'm very active in this thing. They raised our rates at Bright Ridge this month. I just got a raise, and but I'm hearing that they're going to give a break to Red Dog. How does this make sense? How does it make sense that we're gonna ruin a beautiful area? Yes, have industry here. Yes, have people come and work, and we have jobs and revenue. I understand all that.
Ms. Ayers, you've reached your 3 minutes.
But let's
Thank you very
use
much.
our common sense as well. Thank you.
David Bright, if you'll come forward to the podium, please, and give your address to the clerk.
Good evening. My address is 318 McInturf Road, Limestone. My business is at 3425 Highway 11E, Limestone. I run the zoo in Limestone. And like some of the others, I've done research on what this can do to animals. And we host over 700 animals at the zoo, 126 different species. So when it is time to vote for that, we are asking that, you take some of these considerations in, that Bitcoin mining does affect animal breeding. It affects the animals. If that sound is 24/7, that's something all those animals, they don't have a choice to go inside of a house or, what we can do. We can turn volume on TV up. We can tone some of that out. Animals don't have that choice, and my job is to protect my animals. As a business, if this goes through, I don't see us staying open because I do have to protect those animals. We'd have to go somewhere else. And, we have spent a lot of money building here. I've lived here my entire life. I love this area. It's just not something that is beneficial to us as people in the county. That's really all I have. I just want to get that out, introduce myself, who I was, and my thought process on that. I thank you all for listening to that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bright. All right, we'll move right on into continue our reset and move right on into our public hearing for rezonings as well. Our first one that we have this evening is Thomas Egan, the 13th Civil District, the Planned Manufacturing District. They're requesting A1 General Agricultural District from the Planned Manufacturing District. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Sir, if you'll give your name and address to the clerk, please.
My name is James Knowles. I live at 570 Hartmantown Road with my father-in-law, Thomas Egan. I'm here in support of the rezoning. We purchased the property last year. It's zoned commercial currently. All the properties in the whole area are residential around it. The county doesn't know how it got zoned commercial in the past, so we're kind of down zoning in a way. I haven't heard anything object to it, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else here to speak in favor of this request? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing no opposition, we'll move on to the next one. Is the Gateway Development is requesting a change in the 12th Civil District R1 Low Density Residential to PRD2 Planned Residential District. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? If you'll come forward to the podium, sir, and give your name and address to the clerk.
Good evening. I'm Jordan Hodges at 3312 Wayfield Drive, partner in Gateway Development. We had met with neighbors nearby in our planning meeting, and they showed up with a bunch of questions and seemed to have got the answers they wanted. So as far as I know, everything is good on our behalf, but if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
All right. Anyone else here in favor to speak in favor of the request? Seeing none, is anyone here to speak in opposition to the request? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one of L&L Holdings, Rockingham Marina. a portion of a parcel in the 11th Civil District, requesting R1 low-density residential to B4 arterial business district. Anyone here to speak in favor of the request? Sir, if you'll come forward and give your name and address to the clerk.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Lewis. I'm with Highlands Engineering. I live at 4605 Bristol Highway in Piney Flats. We're here to request that a portion of the Rockingham Marina property off of North Rome Street be rezoned from R1 to B4. We've been to the Johnson City Commission where they favorably agreed to this rezoning. And if the party has any questions, I'm here to answer those.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in favor of the request? Seeing none, is anyone here to speak in opposition to the request? Did you want to speak in opposition, sir?
We live on Boone Drive. We don't know what they're trying to do. That's what we're trying to find.
Okay.
What is it? We don't want a dead end that we have. We have children. We want it left the way it is. So more traffic needs to get hurt.
Yeah. I think most of the time they heard that in the planning commission. Can you answer some of those questions before? Well, I don't really want to get back and forth, but
There's going to be no connection to Boone whatsoever. Where they've got existing boats, that big flat area on top of the property goes down about 30 feet back down to Boone where it has a connection to Boone. It's going to be limited to that upper area. The zoning of which you're familiar with what connects to Boone remain R1. It's not going to change, and all that they're going to do is basically just store boats up there.
Well, I knew you had access.
Yeah, there is an access, but there's so much elevation change, there's really no way to access that, and we're not going to be selling that.
That's what.
all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. I think that'll answer some questions and get that cleared up. Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition to? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move back into regular session. Ms. Charles, if you'll come forward and answer any questions that the commissioners may have on these three items.
All three items you have before you tonight have been recommended approval from the Planning Commission. The first two are from the Washington County Planning Commission, and the third one, as you heard from Mr. Lewis, went to Johnson City's Planning Commission, and that's due to the fact that it falls within their planning boundary. So the first rezoning from PMD to A1 brings this property zoning into conformance with the surrounding area. So the commission did unanimously recommend approval. The second rezoning is from R1 to PRD2, which is planned residential, and that is to accommodate a combination of single-family and multifamily residential homes. And then your third rezoning, as you just heard, is to expand the Rockingham boat storage business to accommodate some extra outdoor storage area. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Charles?
We didn't hear a word you said.
Is that better?
Commissioners, is there any questions for Ms. Charles? Seeing no questions, thank you very much, Ms. Charles.
Thank you.
The first resolution to consider tonight is Resolution 220801, is a resolution rezoning the tax map in the 13th Civil District presently owned by Thomas Egan.
Move to approve the rezoning.
Motion made by Commissioner Tester to approve, seconded by Commissioner Carriger. Is there any questions or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Next resolution is Resolution 220802, is a resolution rezoning the tax map in the 12th Civil District presently owned by Gateway Development. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Malone, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. It's asking if we're present or not. I think we need to switch the voting screen. Madam Clerk, well, while he's getting that caught up, let's call the roll. Let's move.
Fitzgerald. Edens.
Yes.
Davenport.
Yes.
Matherly.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Malone.
Yes.
Williams. Carriger.
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Tester.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
13.
13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Next resolution is Resolution 220803, is a resolution rezoning the tax map in the 11th Civil District, presently owned by L&L Holdings of Rockingham Marina. Do we have a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the resolution. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Huffine. Questions or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Davenport.
Yes.
Matherly.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Malone. Williams. Carriger.
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Tester.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
13 years.
13 yes, 2 absent, and the resolution passes. You do have the minutes of the Washington County Board of Zoning Appeals in your packet for your review. We do have a couple of special recognitions and proclamations this evening. Mayor Grandy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the first one is second harvest food bank. Second harvest food bank, see that. Yes, I'm just saying that there is a proclamation, this in fact, it's recognized in September 2022 as Over Action Month in Washington County.
Absolutely. Yes, Commissioner Malone?
I was offering a motion to approve.
Oh. Motion to approve the proclamation. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Edens. Any questions or discussion on the proclamation?
All the questions.
Seeing none. All in favor of the proclamation signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The proclamation passes.
Thank you. This next
Proclamation is recognizing and honoring 3 generations of the Edens family in public service. And
the herd of the Eden family is here, as they said earlier, and I just asked them to come up and be part of this very unique celebration in the history of Washington County. The folks standing in front of you tonight are representatives of 3 generations of the family Edens. 3 generations that participated in this county's public service. So this is indeed a very special and unique time. Whereas most Americans have stronger contact with their state and local governments than with the federal government, as local government provides many of the public services that directly affect citizens' day-to-day lives. For residents of Washington County, District 4, for the past 24 years, that local contact for important governmental decisions has been with a member of the Edens family. And whereas Rick Edens served as a member of Washington County Board of County Commissioners from 1998 to his untimely death in 2005, which honors include selection by the County Commission to serve on the Johnson City Power Board, where he was elected Vice Chairman and Chairman. Rick also served on the County Commission's Public Safety Committee and Work Release Program. When the new detention center was built, his name was included on a plaque inside the jail that recognizes those individuals instrumental in the construction of the new facility. On May 20th, 2008 in Telford, the Tennessee General Assembly passed an act to name a bridge on State Route 353 as a memorial to an outstanding public servant who contributed significantly to the growth and prosperity of this community that designated the Richard Rick L. Eden Sr. Memorial Bridge in what the House bill described as a tribute to a selfless public servant and a true patriot. And whereas a veteran of the United States Air Force and more than 25-year employee of the town of Jonesboro, Daniel Edens will conclude his 4th term on August 29th, 2022. The County Commission appointed him to serve in the position of his father when held. While considering the appointment of Rick Edens' widow, they heeded to her comments that having been witness to the sacrifice and commitment required of the position, it was on her heart to recommend that her son be considered, as he had the necessary qualities and qualifications. The community re-elected Daniel Edens to serve a total of 14 years on the Washington County Commission, where he has demonstrated his commitment to public service through his work on the Commission's Public Safety, Public Works, Commerce, Industry and Agriculture Committee, and Health, Education and Welfare Committees, the chairman of the latter. He has consistently been an advocate for issues affecting Washington County employees, the Sheriff's Department, and volunteer fire departments. His involvement in Washington County funding of the construction of the Ridgeview, Grandview, New Boones Creek School, and the new Jonesboro School exemplify his commitment to the education of Washington County's children. And whereas the August 2022 election of Joshua Eden marked a significant commitment by the Eden family to the Washington County Board of County Commissioners with service spanning 3 generations, and reflects the confidence of the community as it continues to elect an Edens to serve on the commission. Joshua Edens, a tenured teacher and coach for Washington County Schools and middle school youth minister for Abounding Grace Baptist Church, will begin his term when he takes the oath of office on August 31st, 2022. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Tennessee, that we do hereby recognize and honor the Edens family for carrying a 3-generation legacy of public service to the Washington County Board of County Commissioners, which reflects not only the family's commitment to the community, but also the community's trust in them. Congratulations, family.
Yes, do we have a motion, Commissioner Wheeler? Second by Commissioner Carriger. All in favor of approving the proclamation signify by saying aye. All opposed? The proclamation's approved.
That's pretty impressive. Who
It
wants to
is.
speak for this group?
I'd like to say something.
Maybe the old.
I'd say she.
Oh.
I want to thank this body, everybody that puts their time in here to come and work these meetings. I want to thank you for your service, for your willingness to serve in your heart. I know what it means because I've done it right alongside you. So thank you, thank all of you for what you do for Washington County. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank the voters of Washington County, especially the voters of what used to be District 9 and what is now District 4, for putting their faith and confidence in the members of my family. You know, words can't express how much that means to us. My dad was my leader. He was my example. And almost 60 years old, he's still the man I'm trying to be. And Josh is the man I'm most proud of in my life right now. And he'll do a good job. So I just want to say again, on behalf of my family, to yours, thank you very much.
You're sorry for being here there.
Mayor, thank you very much. I've had the privilege of serving with all three, or two, and coming up with one of those gentlemen, which was it was a privilege indeed. All right, our next report is the approval of the minutes by the Board of County Commissioners. I do see that we have a bit of a minute amendment here. Is that correct, Commissioner Tester?
Yes, sir, just a minor correction at the bottom of page 37 and top of page 38. The final vote on resolution 220610A, I abstained on that final vote.
All right.
I'll move we approve the minutes with that correction.
All right, any further corrections? Okay, motion made by Commissioner Tester. Commissioner Malone?
Just go over one perhaps, expansion, I suppose, where it references the county attorney's, update to the commission. It's simply read, and I'm looking for it now. What I can see on mine. It's on page 34. It's the update on Bitcoin. Of course, there were a number of people here to speak of Bitcoin tonight that just wonder, think about these things in terms of when somebody reads it 2 or 3 or 5 years out in the future. And I just wonder if we should perhaps be a little more descriptive about that update on Bitcoin. I just wonder if we could say that we had a comprehensive update on the litigation and the associated matter. Just a little more detail there.
I think more detail does add to confusion on minutes. But it just leaves it arbitrarily for someone to break down 10 years from now. So, you can look at it either way. But do you have an amendment to make, Commissioner Malone? And we'll.
Nothing specific. I intend to let the clerk and the county attorney work it out. If
All right.
they want to make it.
All right. Well, that would be a good idea. I think everybody's ready to do that. Sounds to me like. All right. We're still caught up in the minutes here with an amendment and try to stay on track for sure. Did you have anything, no additions or amendments, Commissioner?
We can call the question.
Okay, question's been called. All in favor of the minutes as amended, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved and received and amended. Madam Clerk, did you have a copy of that amendment Commissioner Tester, is always good to, have a written copy. Thank you, Commissioner Tester. All right, our next item is the, report of the county officials. Mayor Grandy, you're at the top of that list tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's two things that are in the packet, and, trustees here, and speak directly. In addition, we have Will Dewberry here who will allow them to, give an update real quickly on where we stand with the bidding process and the information on ball field.
Thank you, Mayor. Willie, we appreciate you taking out time out of your night to come here and give us an update of where we were and where we're headed quickly, hopefully, on this project.
Yeah, no problem. Thank y'all for having me. Yeah, with regards to the ball fields, what we had originally hoped to do was to have something back to you for this month. After meeting with Tom Weems, the time frame was just too narrow in being able to do that, because there was a couple of changes within the plans, because we're trying to get it to where it's bidding the same way as what it had before, but to where there's alternates, to where it's sort of making it towards a la carte as well, to where we can pull out sections if we see one part is too more expensive, to where you can have a better understanding of what the total costs will be. So it is on the market right now. It advertised started last week. We have a pre-bid meeting at Boones Creek School Wednesday at 3:00, and then the bids are due back on the 21st of September. So we will have it for the September commission meeting.
All right. Any questions for Willie while we have him a moment, Commissioner Wheeler?
We're bidding for contracts.
Yes, it is. Yeah, there's options, and that's one of the things that we looked at, because there was a couple of areas that we looked at that could come under state contract, possibly, like the lighting, which is one that's a deletion from it if we see, because we'll have them bid the whole package, but it's individual pricing, like what the lighting is. So if we see that is one area that could be under state contract and could come in less, it could be pulled out of it and done separately, sort of like how the ball field, or not the ball field, but the turf was done. The turf at both David Crockett and Daniel Boone were done under state contract. They have a company that did the turf and then actually did the installation was separate from it, but they all came together like that. Yep.
This meeting has.
We'll probably meet right there outside of the main area now. Once we get, Phil Patrick was trying to coordinate with the principal there. I don't know if we'll be inside the building. I'm sure we'll be on the outside over where the ball fields are, so they can look and ask any questions with regards to that. But yeah, it's gonna be probably just at the main entrance at the school.
This has been a slow process through the years here. Once we get going, we need to decide, almost like whoever's gonna be a project manager. I think we're gonna need, I would like to have weekly updates on where we're at, starting next week after, some kind of summary on how that went, and then go forward. Because if we have monthly, we're 3-4 months away from people needing that. Right? We have 3-4 months of preparation, but March, there needs to be something there for them to play on. So I'd like for us to set something like that, some kind of communication to see where we're at.
I'm sure that could be arranged. I'm sure the Tom Weems, to what degree he's involved after we get through the bid process. Just like I said, that would be presented once we have the bid opening on the 21st.
All right. Where will that bid opening be, Willie?
It will be in the courthouse.
Okay.
The old courthouse at 3:00, and it'll be on second floor where our offices are at in that conference room.
All right. All right. Any further questions for Willie? Willie, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Okay, also on, page 43, the comptroller's, his, acknowledgement receipt, FY23 budget, and it's presented. And, as presented earlier, trustee report, also in the package. Any questions on this one?
Is the trustee still with us, Mayor? Oh, yes. Rick, I didn't know if you wanted to explain that since we added you under the report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other part of what's in the packet about, where I gave the annual report, is that
Yes.
that's in your packet as well, but the one thing that Commissioner, Malone had mentioned to me on the last page there, well, I'll just rapidly go through that, but if you'll just turn to that packet, I don't know what.
It's in page 200.
Page 200. That was pretty deep, wasn't it? The first thing I would just tell you about, you'll see the delinquent in our the tax collection, is 97.55%. For these figures are as of the end of June. The next page, showed you the delinquent taxes, what we showed in 21 property taxes, personal property and public utilities, the number of parcels and the total amount. And then what went to the clerk and master on April 1st of 2020, there was $432,700, 645 accounts, or 190,000 and 1,040 accounts in personal property. And the next report in that packet was, each year we have the rollback, and these are parcels were added, deleted, where they might be nonprofit, and then they come out and they go back on the tax roll. It's rollback. Would explain, we picked up 171 parcels. We decreased 171, but we increased 190. And you see rollback on both sides. Rollback usually comes on the increases, but they had an overpayment of $20. That's why we're showing it on both sides there. But the number of net changes was a positive $64,000. I think you remember last year was about 161 negative. So there was a very positive change there. The next column in there, it shows what the county and the state has paid, the jurisdictions have paid on tax relief. The state of Tennessee paid $695,841, and Washington County $400,152, about 2,369 applicants is what the number was. And the last page in that report shows where the sales tax distribution went. I don't know what's in your packet. Commissioner Malone showed me there. The first one shows Washington County schools, general government, Washington County General Fund gets no money from the sales tax. And Washington County schools get $20,722,000. Johnson City schools $19,247,000. And the next line should be Johnson City. I don't know if it has Johnson City schools in your packet. If it does, that should just be what goes to the city. That's $29,988,000. And then you have $2.5 million going to the town of Jonesboro, $53,000 going to Watauga for $72,500,000 in taxes. I hardly went through that. Any question on that? No, I'll hit this last one now. I'll yield back to you all. The paper page that I handed out a while ago was last year. The state gave permission for the trustees to enter into agreement with a third party for collection of personal property taxes. Personal property taxes are not collected by the clerk and master or the tax attorney. We don't do a distress warrant and go out and pick up people's equipment. We have nowhere to put it, nowhere to handle it, nowhere to anything. So that's where they have given us that authority. We have engaged with the company that's been calling on us for a couple of years. We're going to turn over the 2012 to 2020 personal property taxes, which is about 4,300 accounts, about almost $600,000. Now that's just the base tax. That's not interest. It's no cost to the county. They'll collect the tax, and we'll get 100% of our tax. And they'll get their fee on there. I think they start out at a 20% fee for 60 days and go to 25, and that's where it stays there. But they'll collect those if people want to enter their payment plan. They'll collect that plus the interest on that, and that will be turned over to the trustee when they collect the tax in full. But something it's a new approach. It hasn't happened, but we've got individuals just haven't paid personal property tax, and you can talk to them about it, and they're not going to pay it. And some of them. I've seen $34,000 out there on some, $10,000, $11,000. People are operating every day in their business. They just won't pay them. And they know we can't collect them. So we've tried a different approach that the state has given us some support us in that effort. So we'll be doing that. We're meeting with that company tomorrow. And we have signed the contract, but we're just hammering out how we're going to transfer everything as of tomorrow. But
we'll still be in touch with them. People can still call us, we still talk to them, but, that we doing the collecting on these here. So, is there any question on either one of these? I appreciate
No,
it.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rick, we appreciate all your hard work. I know you're doing a great job. All right, our next report is our county attorney's report. You've already gave us several reports, but let's get down to the big one. Thank you so much, Ms. Wilkinson, for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just checking that microphone there for a minute. I didn't prepare you a written report this evening, nothing of specific detail, but there are 3 high-level items that I think would be of value and important. We've obviously been working on a number of contracts recently going forward, but of particular interest to the commission this evening is following up on a resolution, taking a page from the mayor, bringing up the Boones Creek resolution. I'll remind you that the resolution that was approved for the TCAT with the Boones School is still in negotiation for the Board of Education to approve its deed. So that probably is something that the public and this commission have been looking for. What's the standing on that? That's happening. It just takes a moment. We've been working between the state and the Board of Education as the conveying party to make sure that the state is sharing what it needs with the Board of Education. So you should see that in the next few weeks, I expect. Otherwise, we are preparing for our annual review of the pilots. And remember, pilots stands for the payment in lieu of taxes, which are the agreements that the Washington County and Johnson City IDB have in place throughout the county, and for different agreement amounts that have been negotiated in lieu of the ad valorem property taxes on real estate and personal property, usually equipment. And so we are working on that. So that will be something that is coming forward. And then as to the Bitcoin matter, I will just add a few points for your review. Last month, we had an extensive overview of the background to the litigation and where we were. And just to make sure, because I think it helps the commission when the public is hearing the same thing that the commission is hearing at the same time. Obviously, as commissioners and the decision makers, you will have full opportunity for privileged communication to evaluate the litigation as you would with any lawyer in any matter. So that's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about what is public information, picking up where we were last month. The settlement agreement is a written agreement which will be memorializing the framework that was brought forward in June. And so what is being discussed there is not new terms. It is not changing the specifics of the agreement, but making sure that the agreement reflects the intention of the parties. That described in the agreement is what is described by the people who were the decision makers trying to bring that forward. It is an attempt to resolve pending litigation. And I think I've said before that business loves certainty. And sometimes in business, whether it's the business of government or the business of, operating a store or something, knowing a result often gives decision makers the best opportunity. That's why it's going forward at this time. There's a property that's under discussion. It's gone back and forth a number of times. I think that's been shared publicly. I would just focus on the fact that Washington County communicated that if the matter was going to be considered, that it would be considered through the committee process, that's what the Board of County Commissioners had expressed as their intention. And when I say that the county communicated, I mean to the defendants in the litigation. And that was not able to be memorialized by August. And so it's been made very clear that this commission has expressed that it doesn't really have an appetite to suspend the rules and have a settlement agreement come forward without being vetted by a committee. So I bring that forward to you as commissioners and to the public tonight, because Last month, I gave a comprehensive review because there might have been expectation that it would be on the agenda last month. When it's on the agenda, it will go through a committee. So I've shared with Red Dog's lawyers and Bright Ridge's lawyers, and I'll just remind you tonight that the next time that the committees have their standing scheduled meetings is October 4th. So that is the next date that there are already scheduled committee meetings. If this was to be considered in another manner, it would be in a special call meeting. So just for the management of expectations, I think it's important to share that. That has been the county's method in all of these settlement negotiations. When we're discussing with Red Dog and Bright Ridge, we've tried to be methodical in our approach and candid and transparent in what the process is and what the current standing is. Two things, though, that I just think as a lawyer, I want to be sure I put out there. Sometimes facts can be, or information can be shared as though it's facts. The Washington County Board of County Commissioners did not consider, did not vote for, and did not approve a Bitcoin mine. And that's very important. The litigation has its own set of disputes. The pleadings speak for themselves. Washington County's lawsuit was to enforce its zoning resolution that a cryptocurrency facility, that a data processing facility was not a permitted use in the A3 zoning. That is Washington County's position in the litigation, summarized to a single sentence. So I think that it would be a disservice to the county for me to just not reference the fact that this commission did not consider, did not approve, and did not vote for a Bitcoin mine. That is not what was presented to Washington County. That may be what the defendants have alleged in their lawsuit, but the record will speak for itself, and there's not been an evidentiary proceeding on that matter, and it is Washington County's position that it did not consider or vote for or approve a Bitcoin mine. As to another point that was raised, just as a matter of law, I wanted to be sure that we were working from the same understanding, which is that the Johnson City Power Board, which I think is now known as Bright Ridge, I think we all call it Bright Ridge, is a public utility. And it is governed by its bylaws. And there are members of the board who are members of the Bright Ridge Board, and they are nominated and they are selected based on the bylaws of the public utility. And that does include a member who is selected by the Washington County Board of County Commissioners. And that is entirely within Tennessee law for that to occur, and I think that's very important. There are always ways for individuals who are public servants to follow the rules of ethics, and I can tell you, commissioners, if you have questions about that, if the public has questions about that, it is publicly available. But I didn't want any one of you to leave this evening and wonder what that was as a basis. So the bylaws do govern who's on the Bright Ridge Board. So I think those are my three big pictures. I hope I didn't get down in the details too much for you. I hope that that would resolve some questions or some uncertainty for folks tonight so we can get to the next point. Unless you have any questions, Mr. Chairman or Commissioners.
Any questions for Ms. Wilkinson? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much for your report, Ms. Wilkinson.
Thank you.
Next item is the Director of the Health Department. I regret to inform you that Director Hodgin has resigned, and he is moving on to a position here in our county, but he has resigned, and Ms. English is back in place. I don't know if Rebecca's here with us tonight. I don't think she is, but she is at the helm of the Health Department, and they're searching for a new director. So if there's anything that you need, just call the mayor. He'll be available to answer any questions. Or Miss English, she is available as well. So, but we do wish Director Hodgin well, and he has served. He's done a great job, and we appreciate all his work, especially through COVID and just being such a great leader there for us at the Health Department. Our next item is the Director of Schools report, Director Boyd.
Make sure I can get close to this microphone. I want to start out just by just saying thank you, has already been said earlier, to all of our commissioners for your service, and those that are here with us tonight and won't be moving forward. And then we have some new ones in the audience. Just certainly admire those that will run for an office and get elected and serve the people. And so thank you for your service. You have my monthly report. If there are any questions, I certainly will be glad to answer those. I do want to thank everyone that attended last Wednesday, was able to attend in the board's workshop, where the hired architects provided an overview of the study that they had done on our facilities. And then the recommendations from the data they gathered that they've given to the board, but the board has not taken any action on those 5 recommendations. That'll require a lot more discussion, a lot more public discussion, and where they go. But one thing was brought up in last Wednesday's meeting, the one recommendation around continuing to strengthen our safety protocols and measures in our schools. You know, I anticipate that being a top priority of the board. And as a school system, we already are working on that even prior to any board action. So definitely that recommendation will continue to be an annual priority. And I'm sure it is in every school system across the United States. But thank you all for that, for attending last week.
Commissioner Jones?
Raise my hand.
I'm done when you need me to be.
I'm thinking back to when I came on the commission, there was a precedent for having people in the community serve as principal for the day in the schools. And I did that, and it was so great and educational for me as a new commissioner. I would do it again in a heartbeat, even as a veteran, but I wondered if you all would consider. I would ask you in a committee meeting, but we don't have one for a while.
Sure.
So if you think about that, maybe for the fall or sometime.
Sure, I'm sure our principals would welcome that opportunity for someone. And if it was done prior to me coming and prior to COVID, I'm sure COVID has just changed a lot of practices. But it's something that I think we can visit. And if anybody wants to come and serve as a superintendent for the day, I'll open my door.
That wasn't part of it. That's definitely not part of it.
And I'll go serve as a principal for the day. Ma'am? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they did a great job, as they always do. I've learned that the almost a year and a half I've been here. We do like food in Washington County, which is great. It's time to fellowship and just serve it and have a meal together.
Commissioner Huffine?
I just want to thank you for including us in that review. I think it was a very well done report, but allowing us to sit there firsthand and hear everything and ask questions and really being engaged. We really appreciate that. I think that just makes a really strong foundation moving forward for us to work jointly together to ensure the best education for the students in Washington County. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. It's our pleasure. And then, of course, something that was also brought out, some of the discussions in the future will need to involve other government entities across Washington County as well, and one other school system in Washington County, because we have to make a decision that's best for the entire county, and that certainly is a team effort even outside of our elected group. But one other thing too, the board did prior to the workshop, they went and visited the Jonesboro site, the new construction site, and I arranged that, and a discussion is they want to do it again in about 2 months, but they also encouraged me and asked me to make sure when we do schedule that I reach out and make sure you all know when it's scheduled, and you certainly are welcome to do the walkthrough. You can do that anytime, of course, but as a group, they're going to do it again in about 2 months.
All right. Anything else for Director Boyd? More questions? All right. Thank you, Director Boyd, for all that you do for us. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, our Administrator of Elections is here with us.
Be out of order.
You are?
My second time I've been in this courthouse. Can I come to the podium?
No, what, we've already spoke about Bitcoin. We've already done that, but now the next time we'll be sure and have another discussion of Bitcoin. But you're more than welcome to,
No.
is there any objection?
Yes.
Yes.
There is objection. All right. Let's see, back to where we were. Director of Schools, our Administrative Elections, Ms. Jones is, her report is in the packet. If there's any questions, for Ms. Jones? All right, seeing none. Next item is the Communications Task Force report, Commissioner Huffine.
All right, you will see the minutes from our August 3rd meeting on page 57, the minutes from our August 9th meeting on page 58. If anyone has any questions, I would be happy to try to answer those. If not, we have two resolutions we will bring forward tonight to you. On page 60 is Resolution 22-08-05, a resolution approving the increase of purchasing threshold amount from $10,000 to $25,000. This is a step that the state took, and I think as we all know with the inflation rate, and the county attorney and I had a discussion with our purchasing director, this would make that life and job much easier to execute with this. That comes before you in form of a motion for acceptance.
Do you have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Questions? Commissioner Tester?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I understand that there could be some administrative savings with not getting three bids, multiple bids, but it seems like the county would almost always benefit from getting bids because you're gonna get better pricing. And if you don't get multiple bids, to me, that kind of opens us up to the potential for possibility of favoritism, or at least the perception of that. So that's just a comment.
Mayor, did you have a comment?
Did, it was not here, which was, the rebate statute. Moved the threshold 10 to 25 for three bids received, voice on the phone or email, as opposed to, advertised bids. It has to be sealed. Anything above 25,000 has to be sealed. Prior to this, 10,000 below, just get through prices. That means that is still big. That's moved from 10 to 25. I think that's.
Commissioner Carter?
I'm a new guy, so I might not understand things very well. I agree with the bid. Just for cover yourself, especially when you're increasing 15,000. The other thing that confused me in this was I thought that this would go through mid. So, again, this, whenever we say task force, that mid. It would seem like it would have to go through mid for it. Anybody can answer that, I'm fine with it. I'm just gonna.
All right. Mayor, you still have to get the 3 bids, correct? I mean, it's just, it just would be advertised bidding, right? Not a sealed advertised bid like in the paper, correct? Yes. And as far as it's not a standing committee, no. Commissioner Wheeler?
With respect to resolution itself, that $10,000 threshold has been there for years. And part of the reason for moving this up to 25 and doing it through getting, bids that aren't through the advertised and sealed process is timeliness. Sometimes you have smaller items that, and 25,000 is not small to any of us individually, but for government, sometimes you're buying something that you need timely. And part of this is that, the ability to get that. This is an increase the state approved for that very reason, to allow governments to do some things that can give them flexibility to be a little more expedient in getting some things done. So I think it's just a matter of over time, increasing that. It's a function of the inflation that we're going through right now, but it's also just a function of inflation over the things that it's given to the balance. So I understand the concern, but I don't think this excuses getting through prices. It just means you don't go through that advertising form of bid. For that reason, I was in favor of it. I was in favor of it. With respect to the task force is not, it's not a standing committee that's approved, but it is a task force of the commission, reporting back to the commission. This is not a subcommittee or a committee or something the committee set up, but something that the commission set up. So we don't report to a committee. The task force reports back to the commission, and that's not expected to be correct.
Commissioner Malone?
Well, I was just going to point out that for those of us that went to the orientation program last week, for a county such as for a county the size of Washington County that has a formal planning or purchasing program and department such as we do, purchasing, the threshold is actually 50,000. So when I saw this resolution, I was a little surprised it wasn't 50, but I think I now understand the approach that we're taking baby steps here, and rather than going from 10 to 50, we're setting it at 25. But as allowed by the state in comptroller currency, what we just heard last week, for a county our size with the purchasing, that threshold is technically 50. Obviously, we can choose to have it lower if we want, which I think this resolution does that. Thank you.
Well, I have one member to speak. Oh, actually, Commissioner Malone had caused both of the lights to go off, is what it was. Commissioner Davenport, did you request to speak? Commissioner Davenport, did you request to speak?
No, as far as task force, I thought resolutions come through committee. And although this one is not a subset of it, it was my understanding in our rules, that's how it should go. So I guess I'm asking the same question Mr. Carter is asking. And maybe our attorney has.
Well, she did request to speak as well. Commissioner Wheeler?
I just point out that when your task force brings things through on the water projects, we vote on them. When the ARPA committee brought things to us, we voted on it. It's not like we don't have a very strong precedent for doing this. When the commission is set up a task force like yours, a committee like the ARPA committee, or this, and I think the rule does talk about business being done through committees, but when the commission itself sets up an entity to report back to the commission, there's no reason the commission can't decide to move forward.
When we are doing things with money, it always goes, the task force, the water task force always goes, any financial goes to the budget.
When we're spending money.
Well,
this is not spending
financial. It goes through budget. I see this in a financial resolution as well.
There are a lot of resolutions that deal with how we're gonna spend, what we're, the policy about spending that don't go through budget. If it requires a budget amendment or budget or advancing funds, then it goes through.
I will, let me interject something just a minute. One of the reasons that they ended up with this resolution this month was, if you notice the agenda, many of the committees did not meet. And we were kind of pressed for time, noticing that purchasing did not meet. And that would really be the committee that we would probably select to send it to. But, committees are set aside to handle certain things, and this may not be exactly what's up the communications task force, but they met at a time that this was, trying to get this need met before the end of the year. As you all know, we will not be meeting in September. So to get this to the floor and try to get it through a second set of eyes looking at it, that's why it comes to you in this form tonight. So that may be the chairman dropped the ball, but a lot of our committees did not meet this month and they are not meeting next. So it does present a bit of a challenge if we don't get this done, fairly soon. Ms. Wilkinson?
Actually, the reason I wanted to address the commission was really just to read from the book. There were a couple of questions. The mayor was asking about the statute and referring to the purchasing director. I heard Commissioner Malone. So I just wanted you to know that what was actually changed was the threshold, and that was changed to indeed in counties that have a centralized purchasing authority, like Washington County does, with a full-time purchasing agent, like Mr. Shrewsbury is, by resolution, increase the threshold over which a public advertisement and sealed competitive bids or proposals are required to an amount not to exceed $50,000, and that's for non-emergency, non-proprietary purchases. And then with respect to the number of bids and that question, it is at least 3 written quotations are required when possible for purchases costing less than the bid threshold established under subsection A or B, which is the one I just read to you, and it goes on. So you'll have another resolution in front of you where the highway department has requested its increase to be 50,000. So both of those, although, the county follows the Purchasing Act of 1957, it will have 2 different thresholds if both of these are approved. So just for the sake of good order, that is Tennessee Code annotated that was revised in Public Chapter 1016 in the last General Assembly session that just convened here this past spring. So that was, I probably jumped in and then you had some other questions, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was the basis for the resolution in front of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. If we would feel any better about that, we could move to suspend a rule and then consider it, if that would make any difference.
Now, do we have a rule?
We do, but it would, setting a precedence.
Well, I fear that you might be setting a bad precedent if you say that you have a suspended rule in this instance.
Well, go ahead and say it, Commissioner Tester.
Well, I was sitting here trying to search for something specific in the rules, and I think maybe the question is more one of, yes, things come from task forces, but this isn't specifically related to communications. I mean, it's kind of tied to their other resolution, and maybe you got there because the chairman sent it there, I don't know, but I'm sitting here searching for a specific answer for you guys if I can find it.
Well, we can defer it. I mean, we can defer it till October. Go back and look at it then. It's nothing. Mayor, would this be a item of great pressure for you if we don't approve this tonight? Mayor doesn't care. Mitch, do you have any I'm gonna entertain a motion to defer then.
So moved.
Motion to defer made by Commissioner Edens. Do I have a second? Second to defer. All in favor of deferring this until our next agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
I think the opposed have it.
Call for the question then.
Question's been called. So we have a motion to approve the resolution. A motion made by Commissioner Huffine, seconded by Commissioner Jones. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, please.
Clarify what we're voting on here, please.
It's a resolution, get right back over here.
Are we voting on the resolution?
220805. Yeah, that resolution to approve or disapprove.
And how do we know that that failed?
It's the discretion of the chair.
Oh, okay. I just asked. Get a change next time.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 6 yes, 7 no, 2 absent. And the resolution fails. All right. Next item. Let's see, you still have one more, don't you, Commissioner Huffine?
Yes, sir, I do. Resolution on page number 62, resolution 220806, which is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an independent contractor agreement for professional services related to a pilot project that develops an effective communication strategy. This comes for you in the form of a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Huffine, seconded by Commissioner Jones to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion? Commissioner Tester?
Ask the obvious question, does the previous result on resolution 05 affect this?
No, I think this actually falls within the realm of the communications task force. I don't see, I think this is something they took up.
No, I mean the fact that we didn't increase the threshold is not. That did not.
That would be a professional service, would it not, Mitch?
I'll defer to the purchasing agent. That's what I understand.
I would think that would defer to professional service. I'm not the purchasing agent, but, Willie had to leave, didn't he? Think so. Yeah.
Call the question?
We're still trying to get the answer. Allison, do you want to weigh in on that question?
I'm happy to. Is it on?
It's on, it should be.
Actually, the chair of the communications task force did confer with the purchasing director about the professional services exclusion. And they discussed in my office, and I don't think that's a privileged communication. I'm happy to share that. They discussed in my office what the purchasing director thought was appropriate for him to have for sake of good order about the integrity. We kind of stepped through the professional services exclusion to the bid threshold to make sure that the purchasing director was not put in a bad spot, or the county, obviously, in conjunction with the resolution. So I would say that that's not the hurdle. It's left to the decision maker, if you think it's the right decision or not, that it has been vetted under the Purchasing Act.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you're saying that would be a professional service?
Yes, sir, and that we discussed that with, Mr. Shrewsbury.
Okay. So we have a motion and second. Any further questions or discussion? Did you say you moved to call for the question, Commissioner Williams? Yes. Madam Clerk, Commissioner Williams is called for the question. If you'll move us to the voting screen.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, you can call the roll.
Fitzgerald. Edens.
No.
Davenport.
No.
Matherly.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Malone.
Yes.
Williams. Yes. Krieger. Harriger.
Yes, yes, I vote yes.
Jones. Yes. Tester.
Yes.
Pepine.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Carter.
No.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report for tonight. Thank you very much.
I'm still waiting on to announce the vote.
10 yes, 3 no, 2
10
absent.
yes, 3 noes, and 2 absence. And the resolution passes. Are you sure there's any other questions for Commissioner Huffine? All right. Thank you, Commissioner Huffine. Our next item is the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee. Commissioner Jones?
You can find the minutes from our August 3rd meeting on page 73. And we'll begin by asking you to consider resolution number 220707A, resolution approving the revised Washington County 5-year educational capital investment plan for fiscal year 23 to 27 and amending fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23 budget. That's on page 76. This comes with a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones to approve the resolution. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Fitzgerald. Questions or discussion?
All questions.
Question has been called. Madam Clerk, are we going to try to switch to the voting screen? Yes, we are. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Yes. Next, I would like to just briefly provide a little context for resolutions number 220808 through 220814. These resolutions relate to spending our county's portion of the Baby Doe settlement funds. And you all remember from last year being briefed on that those funds and kind of developing a process. Just to walk you back, in November, we held a workshop. At that time, our commission discussed the use of these funds for prevention and treatment, recognizing that our county and our region is one of the hardest hit in the nation for opioid use, and wanting to do something about that. At the time, our chairman identified HUE as the committee for managing a process. You all should recall me bringing you updates over the past 6 months as to what that process was like. We developed a request for proposals. We solicited those proposals over a period of months. We received 11 proposals on June 1st, which was our deadline. We had a group called Avenue out of the United Way of Kingsport review those proposals since they're experts in opioid treatment and provide us with input on all of the applications we received. We had the opportunity to have hearings in July where we got to meet with the project leaders for each of the 11 projects. And I can tell you, I think I speak for the four of us who spent close to 5 or 6 hours doing that. It was very inspiring and moving to hear from the people in our community who are doing the hard work every day of helping our friends and family and neighbors who are in recovery. I know we can all attest now, having heard them, how much need there is for help for these families. And I just want to acknowledge quite a few of our applicants are in the audience today and have sat through our meeting. And I really appreciate that. It just shows even more your commitment to the work you do. We had a really hard time then on August 3rd in our deliberations, and I think ultimately resolved to commit these funds in a way that really balances the needs of our county. So in other words, these 7 decisions complement one another and work together to fill gaps in our recovery ecosystem. And for that reason, and for expediency, I would request that we consider all 7 resolutions. That's 220808, 220809, 220810, 220811, 220812, 220813, and 220814 as a block and vote them together. I would, and if it's appropriate, I would make a motion that we do so.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones to consider those aforementioned resolutions, seconded by Commissioner Carriger. Ms. Wilkinson, is there any issues with considering those in that block?
There's no prohibition
For the Tennessee rules or this commission's rules. I do think if anyone is going to make any statements with respect to engagement or involvement with any of the entities, they want to do that before they make their vote. If they're going to recuse themselves or and just state their the perceptions or abstain or recuse, I would recommend that that be done before you vote on them globally. And you may wish to have a vote to make sure that everyone is comfortable with that approach, and or if they would want to draw any out for particular discussion.
If anyone had a conflict, they would just need to abstain, correct?
Yes, sir. They would make their statement if they had a conflict or if they thought that there was a perception of a conflict. That would be before you have the vote. And if you want a record to make sure that no commissioner here wants to consider them one by one, then you would want to vote on the global vote.
Yes. Commissioner Tester?
I would like to request that we divide the votes, please.
We have a motion to divide.
There's somewhere in the rules that I think we have to vote on that.
It's 6H, and it says that any single commissioner can demand that the question be.
I would just make mention again that it was kind of like, well, if we fund this type of thing, we'll also fund this type of thing as a complementary service. So they are kind of a balanced set of proposals that work as a unit. In that case, I guess I go forward with each resolution.
You may proceed, Commissioner Jones.
Okay, then for your consideration, we have resolution number 220808. Resolution approving Johnson City Recovery Center as a recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $1,200,000. You can find that on page 81. It comes with recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Wheeler to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
No question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, one no, two absent. The resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Next for your consideration, I would like you to look at resolution number 220809, resolution approving recovery court expansion as a recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $250,000. This is on page 89. It comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Huffine. Questions or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 11 yes, 2 no, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Next for consideration, resolution number 220810, resolution approving residential recovery court as recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $1,900,000. It's on page 96. It comes with a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Malone. Questions or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 11 yes, 2 no, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Next for your consideration, resolution 220811, resolution approving outreach program expansion as a recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $240,000. That's on page 103. It comes with a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones to approve the resolution. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Davenport. Commissioner Tester?
Mr. Chairman, my employer is providing professional design services for the Salvation Army related to this project, so I'm going to abstain from the vote on this resolution and recuse myself from the discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Tester.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Commissioner Davenport, your button.
I'm doing all I know to do. Let's push it.
Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 1 abstained, 2 absent. The resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Next for your consideration, resolution number 220812, resolution approving recovery housing expansion as a recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $100,000. You'll find it on page 110. It comes with a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Carriger to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, please. 12 yes, 1 no, 2 absent. The resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Consider resolution number 220813, resolution approving the project BLRTN as a recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $500,000, page 118. Recommended by the committee, I bring it to you in the form of motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones. Have a second? Second by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the resolution.
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote, 12 yes, 1 no, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Consider resolution number 220814, resolution approving Washington County Emergency Communications District as a recipient of opioid litigation settlement funds in the amount of $10,000. It's on page 126. Comes with a recommendation from the committee, and I bring it to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Malone. I will announce now that I will be abstaining from this vote. I am the Director of Washington County 911, and I will be abstaining. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Twelve yes, 1 no, 12 yes, 1 abstained, 2 absent, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Jones?
Chairman, I just want to say thank you to the Hugh Committee for the hard work and certainly our legal team that supported us in pulling that effort together. And again, thanks to all of you who participated in the proposal process and came tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. I know you've put a lot of hard work in this. I know the committee has. And it's not been a short process. I mean, you had such great applicants and people spent a lot of time and were so passionate about what they were doing, you know, and I could really see that as what little process I was involved in it. So I think y'all done a great job and want to thank you for that work, because that's been a year-long project, I know. So any more questions for Commissioner Jones before we let her go here? We had no meeting of the investment committee. I was gonna try to let you get off the hook here just a minute, you know?
That's all I have for you, Chairman.
All right. Our next item is the Public Works Committee, Commissioner Davenport.
Yes, you will find our minutes on August 3rd meeting on page 130. Our first resolution is resolution 220815. We do budget 2223, solid waste, and roll vehicles. That is the
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Fitzgerald. Questions or discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Davenport?
next resolution is resolution 220816, resolution adopting the revision to the Washington County road list. That is the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
No question.
Question. Madam Clerk switches to the voting screen. The question's been called. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Davenport?
Next resolution is resolution 220817, resolution approving increased purchasing threshold from $25,000 to $50,000 for the highway department.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Wheeler. Was that a second, Commissioner Wheeler?
That's a second and a question.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Wheeler?
I'm just curious, I don't see the point in the cases when it's budget.
Our meeting was before the budget committee, like our other financial requests. And if they need to be, then they get routed that way. Nothing to our committee that controls that process. Okay, all right. No, this one's different.
Commissioner Tester?
Yeah, I just have a clarification question. I'm sorry to ask this earlier in the question got called, so talking about that one, but, and this is for the attorney, on page 140 of the packet, there's the county highway law, and I guess that was uniform highway law, and it was put in here, I guess, for reference. But in the first paragraph, it says that the county uniform highway law provides a purchasing law for the county highway department when purchasing for departments is not governed by private act, county highways, county purchasing law 1957 or blah, blah, blah. And we are under the 57, so I'm just wondering if that, does that mean that doesn't apply to us? Is that an old version of it or something? Because
So-
the next page sort of seems to contradict that. Page 141.
I'm going to break this down in a couple of pieces because it actually is, seems more complicated than it is. So first off, under the Uniform Highway Law, this was brought forward by the Highway Department. This was information that they received for being, I think, one of the best respected highway departments in Tennessee. And they got this information and they brought it forward. So we do have a purchasing law. I will also tell you that in preparing this resolution, I learned that the Private Act of 1997, Chapter 36, is what defined the Washington County appointment of the Highway Department Superintendent. And so it says in that the Superintendent of Highways shall be subject to the County Purchasing Act of 1957 and all amendments thereto. And so it's wrapped up in there, but the highway law has its own threshold of $25,000 is written into the highway department law. So that is what's being raised here, is from 25,000 to 50. And so, yes, we are subject to the 57 Act and the private act that defined the appointment of the superintendent incorporated being subject to the 57 Act, and the statute, which was revised this past year in May, does contemplate raising it to 50,000 because we do have a full-time purchasing director. I just read the statutes, I'm not the memo, that's why I'm going by the statutes themselves. So I would be hesitant to interpret the director's memo there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Wheeler, I didn't see you.
I'm curious as to why we would not raise one and raise the other. It looks to me like we would keep them the same. I raise that as a question.
It looks like it was different anyway. We're going from 10 to 25, this is 25 to 50.
I would say it kind of sounded like it's already different.
Yeah.
It is, but I don't know why we raised one if we were hesitant to raise the other.
I still don't quite understand why that first paragraph on page 140 says what it says about.
They just changed.
If we're not governed by it, because we are. So that seems to say that we wouldn't be governed by that. I'm not the attorney in the room, so those are.
Ms. Wilkinson, would you like to?
Just want to make sure I hear the question. I'm happy to step back through it. So the first paragraph on page 140, is that right?
Yes.
And it says the county uniform highway law at TCA 547113. Is that what you're reading? Okay, and it provides a purchasing law for county highway departments when purchasing for the department is not covered by a private act. County purchasing law of 57 or the fiscal management system of 81. So that's saying that, and I'll just confirm, 547113 is the Tennessee County Uniform Highway Law. All right, so it's saying that when there's no private act or the purchasing act, either of 57 or of 81, then the highway law will control. All right?
So that's, I guess that's my question. So from that, it sounds like the highway law does not control because 57 does.
Correct, and our private act incorporates 57, so yes.
So the limits in that, on that page, don't really apply.
We would have to set the limits, right? We would be the one setting the limits. Commissioner Tester.
That's not me, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Huffine.
I guess the question I would ask is of the highway department, if, how impactful is that of us making this decision tonight? Could we defer this as we did the other one and getting a little more information, bringing them both back at the program? Again, I want to defer to the highway department. Is that going to handicap them or not? I mean, that's, we don't want to impede.
We didn't, now let's make it clear, we didn't defer that one.
Absolutely. Stand correct.
I think the highway superintendent's here, he was earlier, maybe he had to leave. Oh, there he is, I see.
Richard, if you'll come on up to the podium, I think there's some questions on this one for you. Richard, I mean, I hate to bring this up right here in the middle of it, but I keep losing commissioners. Is there any way we could take a recess here so everybody, I mean, let's work that in here pretty quick, cause I've lost 3 commissioners during this one discussion. Is there any objection to a 10-minute recess before Richard gets started?
Very good to see you.
Okay. Richard, we're coming back in 10 minutes. We'll take a 10-minute recess.
And you said let's get out.
She wouldn't have it any other way in your life.
Go out and stop.
Richard had time to go home.
I will. But now I bailed her out of the grand jury. She needs somebody. So I paid my debt. Who is she on?
Shut up and sit down.
You don't have to for being on a jury, do you? Yeah. I always want to be on the jury.
All right, let's go ahead and get started back. Okay, where were we? Richard? We had you at the podium, right? And we did have a motion and a second on the resolution. And I think we were asking you some questions about this resolution. I think initially, Richard, didn't you ask for it to be 25, and was that right in committee, or was it 50 in committee? Yeah, you originally asked for 25 in committee, and the committee went ahead and moved it to 50. So.
Because it costs so much to advertise and everything, and still, we had a pump go out on the asphalt plank. And if we'd had to bid it, it'd shut us down for 2 weeks or longer.
Yeah, that's what I understood in our discussion, was also the price of everything, and then by the time you bid it, you've got people standing around costing it.
Yeah. Runs into money in a hurry, and especially now, everything's double or triple.
Is it hard to find bidders anymore, Richard?
Hard to find what?
Is it hard to find bidders? I know my experience has been, it's hard to find 3 people to even bid some
of them is 2 and some of it's just 1.
Yeah.
Like, propane, we didn't even get a bidder this year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, the question's been called. Richard, thank you so much. We appreciate all your input, and thank you for all that you do for us.
May not want to go forward, we've got a couple more resolutions.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, 1 no, 2 absent, and the resolution passes.
Okay, our next resolution, number 220818, resolution amending fiscal year budget 22-23, Highway Department drainage improvements. And that's in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Kate to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
All questions.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Davenport?
Our final resolution is number 220819, resolution authorizing paving services by the Washington County Highway Department for the town of Jonesboro, and that's in form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Davenport?
That's all I have.
Right. Richard, anything else? All right, thank you. All right, our next, item is the Rules Committee, Commissioner Tester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, our minutes are, on page 56, that's our page 56. We had a good meeting. Anybody have any questions before I get to the resolutions? Our first resolution I'll get to, first one is 220821, and it's updating the rules of procedure. We did some formatting updates and added a table of contents that hopefully will make it easier for folks to find things. And, the substantive thing that we did, we recommended tweaking Rule 8B, which we had a little bit of struggle at times to get information out in a very timely manner before meetings for the public and for commissioners. So hopefully that rule tweak will help with that. So I bring you this resolution 21, a recommendation from the committee on the
Motion made by Commissioner Tester, seconded by Commissioner Edens.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Mr. Tester?
Our second resolution, Mr. Chairman, is found on page 190, and it's resolution 220822, and it confirms Allison Wilkinson as our county attorney under the new private act that we now have. And unfortunately, we've had an issue the last couple of months since we passed the new budget. She has not been receiving her full pay. And there's some information in this resolution to hopefully correct that situation as well. So I bring this to you as a recommendation from the committee, if it's approved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Tester, seconded by Commissioner Edens. Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Tester?
Chairman, if you'll indulge me for just one more moment.
Absolutely.
While I still have the floor, I just wanted to quickly kind of echo, I guess, part of what Danny said earlier, and thank you all for your service. And I wanted to very quickly say it has been an honor serving on the county commission for the last 8 years. And I plan to stay an active citizen and stay involved, so I'll be seeing most of you probably. But I do wish all of you and your families the best, and I wish Washington County the best. And it's been an honor to serve. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the extra minute.
Thank you for all your service to us. And, you know, we don't let commissioners slip away too easily. You know, there's, I've seen Gary McAllister back there on more committees than I care to count. So. All right, our next item is the Water Task Force. Commissioner Davenport.
Yes, you'll find our, minutes on, our July 15th meeting on page 493. Have any questions?
Just one, I saw there, we've got the 12.5 from ARPA, then the 7 million grant, so is that cumulative, so 19.5 is what we.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
We have not closed that grant out, we're still working on it, but we think we've got everything in place to proceed.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any questions for Commissioner Davenport any further? All right, thank you, Commissioner Davenport. Our Budget Committee report, Commissioner Wheeler.
Mr. Chairman, on our minutes of the August 10th meeting on page 194, we have several resolutions for the commission's consideration this evening. First, resolution number 22 8 23, a resolution amending fiscal year budget 2023 regarding zoning insurance proceeds related to a 2021 Ford Explorer. Found on page 280 of the packet. This comes as a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Kate. Questions or discussion?
Call for question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Our next resolution is found on page 210 of your packet, resolution number 22 8 24. Resolution amending fiscal year budget 2022-2023 regarding finalized health department operating agreement. This comes in the form of a recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Carriger to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner Wheeler?
Final resolutions page, found on page 213 of your packet, resolution number 22 8 25. Resolution in the fiscal year budget 2022-2023 regarding Washington County Health Department, State of Tennessee chronic disease grant. This comes in the form of recommendation from the committee, and I move for its approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Wheeler, seconded by Commissioner Huffine to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call for question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Wheeler? I think that's the quickest one you've done, and I don't know how many agendas. I know, I don't know how long it's been since that's happened. Our old business discussion, last month we had resolution 220716 was a resolution amending the fiscal year budget for the highway department for payroll increases. I don't think there was any action. We just deferred this off. Richard, was there any action that needed to be taken on this? No action. So since there's no action,
I make a motion to defer.
Defer or?
could we table that maybe? Motion to table. All right, have a second? Second to table? Okay.
Point of order, table again, this means we bring it up later in the meeting.
No. It goes on to the table. You'd have to vote to bring it back.
It wouldn't be the first time I got a definition.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary, is that what we're talking about?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But
That would be the only way you could remove it.
the highway department.
No,
It can fail for lack of a motion.
Ken? Commissioner Light, y'all remember Marion Light?
Yes.
He had a motion to shelve. And once they shelved it, it never come back. You can never speak of it again. Now, I don't know about these rules that we got now, but that was the ones I started with. Yeah, we shelved it. All right, so do we have a motion or in this thing? We'll let it die for lack of a motion if that's what you want. Is that okay with everybody? All right, I'm gonna call this thing dead for lack of a motion. All right, how's that? Is that okay with you, Commissioner? Yeah, okay, all right. We've got the attorney satisfied on that, so that'll work. Our next item was the resolution 220615A, was a resolution approving the property lease for facilities associated with the maintenance of the sheriff's department vehicles. Motion to approve by Commissioner Kate. Have a second? Second by Commissioner Huffine. Any questions or discussion? Questions been called? Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. That concludes our report of the old business. Notaries, we do have resolution 220826 is a resolution approving the election of notaries public for appointment and or reappointment for Washington County, Tennessee. Motion made by Commissioner Carriger, seconded by Commissioner Edens to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion? Questions been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 13 yes, 2 absent, the resolution passes. We do have several announcements this evening. We have no new business. The cutoff time for next month's commission agenda is Thursday, September the 15th. As you know, we have reorganization next month. The District 12 and 13 community meeting, Commissioner Tester, Commissioner Wexler, and Commissioner Huffine will host a community meeting from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August the 30th at the Antioch Baptist Church, 1014 Antioch Road, Johnson City. This will be an informal opportunity to discuss current events regarding Washington County government and share feedback with their commissioners. Everyone is welcome. Our official swearing-in ceremony will be August 31st at 9 a.m. in courtroom 7 right here in the George James Justice Center. Chancellor Rambo will be here to swear you in. A bit of a change I probably need to announce. We've had we had a September 8th meeting scheduled for reorganization. However, we had to change that to September 6th today at 6 p.m. So I'll be letting Sherry know that tomorrow a court conflict has come up and it'll work better on the 6th instead of the 8th. If we could, and that way it will give us to meet here in this room.
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m., yeah, September the 6th. I want to thank the opportunity for me to serve as your chairman for the last 4 years. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. It's always a pleasure to get to serve with each of you, and we've had great friendships and developed a great time. And Commissioner Jones, thank you for the cake tonight to celebrate our term. And I do want to take this opportunity to give to the mayor to let him address the commission as we begin a new term, and some commissioners depart and some stay with us, but we'll always be welcome back here to the commission. Mayor?
This is a great commission, very productive. And 4 years, we've accomplished a lot of things that are positive in Washington County.
Thank you, Mayor. But I appreciate everything that each of you have done to make this commission successful the last 4 years.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? I think my time must have expired. So, I actually talk louder without the microphone. I'm kind of like Commissioner Edens said one time, I don't need no microphone for somebody to hear me. Ain't that right, Commissioner Edens? So, as we leave each other tonight, let's thank Commissioner Harris' son, and I know they're still there at the hospital working through some things. All right, would anyone else like to say something?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Commissioner Edens, seconded by Commissioner Tester. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, Yeah.